Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being with us, whether you're with us here at TBI or joining us online. Let's take a deep breath as we try to be present to welcome Shabbat together. We are going to, if you haven't noticed, Cantor Paul's not here with me this evening. He's still on his study leave, and next week we'll have Cantor Rebecca Mirsky with us again, and then the following week Cantor Bush will be back with us. We're going to begin on page 24 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We turn to page 3. Invite those who are able to please rise. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. You may be seated. We turn to pages 20 and 21. In a moment, we will sing Lecha Dodi, but we take a breath and an opportunity to reflect on the week that has been, to pause on each day, to recall its challenges and its blessings, beginning with last Shabbat and working your way up to today. Everything that has happened is now in the past with the week as we move into this Shabbat, into this time of presence, being present with ourselves, being present with our community, being present with the Holy One. We join in Lecha Dodi. We'll sing we'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to verse 9, those in the sanctuary, and I'll invite you to rise and face the doors from which we entered to welcome the Shabbat presence into the congregation, and those at home to turn and face the doors of your home to welcome the Shabbat presence into your home and into your heart. Lecha Dodi. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litchila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habaracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Hit oreri, kiva orech kumi uri, shedaberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. La 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 lechadoti, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadoti, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. La 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 lechadoti, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadoti, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Page 26. We continue with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, bagala, uvizman kariv, ve'imeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam u'lomei almaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yit'alal, shemei d'kudesha, b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'alma, ve'imeru, amen. Baruchu, our call to prayer, is found on page 28. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Hamevorach leolam va'ed. Last three lines on page 30. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai, hamariv aravim. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to me. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Last four lines on page 32. Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu leolamim, baruch ata Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Page 34 and 35, Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You may be seated. Page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta b'ham, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtaftam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem, Emet. Page 41. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Michamocha, page 40. Yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 mi chamocha bailim Adonai mi kamocha nedar bakodesh norati lot osefele osefele Achutcha ra'u v'necha Bokeam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Achutcha ra'u v'necha Bokeam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Yada die 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 Yada die 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 Yada die 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 Yada die 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 Yada die 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 Yada die 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 Yai dai 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 Zezeli Anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch Leolam leolam va'ed Yada dai 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 Yada dai 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 Yada dai 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 Yada dai 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 Yada die 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 yada die 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 yai die 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 ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגולו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני. Yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 Gal Yisrael. Amen. 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 We take a moment to envision God's shelter, God's Sukkot Shalom over us, over our people, over the world, to pray that we lie down with a sense of shalom each night, a sense of wholeness, sense of peace, wake up l'chaim each day with a sense of purpose each day. Hashkivenu, page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu ushmor tzeitenu sukat shlomecha ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu. From the top. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We give thanks for the Shabbat. I know I give thanks each week for this opportunity to refresh and reconnect, to be in community. So when we sing Vishamru, we hold those images and those wishes of connection and of presence with us as we move through Shabbat. Vishamru, page 44. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. As we turn to our Amidah, our Tefillah prayer begins on page 46. We'll sing the first few blessings together, the Avot V'Imahot blessing, the Givurot, and the Kedusha. Then we'll have a little time for silent prayer in the text of our own heart. So I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and we'll begin on page 46. Adonai sifatai tivtach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Page 50. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah, Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach, Umorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar. Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atal HaChayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Page 52. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please take a few moments for silent prayer. When you're through, you may be seated. page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. I know I'm probably not supposed to say this, but this week is one of my favorite Torah portions. Sort of like your kids, right? You're not supposed to say, this is my favorite kid. This is my favorite Torah portion, or one of them. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to kind of give you a little broad piece of why, and then I'm going to focus on something a little, one theme of the Torah portion. First of all, this Torah portion, I'm really going to talk about the first part. The first part of this Torah portion is Jacob leaves Beersheba and heads out toward Haran. He's going to look for a spouse, and he comes upon a certain place and stops there for the night. The sun has set, takes a stone, puts it under his head. Doesn't seem like a very comfortable pillow to me, but that's what he uses. And he lays his head down in that place. He had a dream, a stairway set ground to sky, ground to heavens, angels of God going up and down, and the eternal standing there beside, and God, and the eternal says, I am God, the God of your father, God of Abraham and Isaac. The ground on which you are lying, I will assign to you and your offspring. Your descendants shall be plentiful, etc. I will protect you. There's a little bit more there, and then Jacob awakes from his sleep and says, Achein, yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. Surely, wow, God is in this place, and I did not know it. And then he says, Ma norah hamakom hazeh, how awesome is this place, in the true sense of awesome, right? Not the way that we sometimes use it today. This is none other than the place of God, Zeh Sha'ar Hashemayim. This is a gateway to heaven. So one of the reasons I like this story is because we are all Jacob. Right? Jacob is, for me here, a stand-in for us. His name is Israel, becomes Israel, right? And he's there, but that we walk through life so often missing the miracles, right? There's a story I sometimes tell the kids about these two kids, Shlumiel and Buz, who left Egypt, these two, not kids, people who left Egypt, who miss all the miracles because they're too busy looking down and complaining about the mud on their shoes and the other kinds of things. They don't notice the sea splitting. They don't notice the Torah being given. They don't notice any of these kinds of things. And I think we're like those folk so much of the time, right? There are beautiful, wonderful things going on around us, blessings that surround us each day, and too often we're too busy, right, to notice. And so for me, that's why this portion is one that always sort of speaks to me. And this last 18 months, I was actually supposed to be in a little over an 18-month program with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality that had supposed to have a number of retreats and things like that. We had one, and then there was COVID. So this 18-month program is going to be like a 26-month program. But really, it's about trying to be present, right, in our lives, to try to be present in the moments that we have and not to be asleep along the way. So for me, that's sort of the big picture. I'm going to study with a few of you tomorrow a little bit more about the ladder and what that might signify for us. But one of the things that's interesting in this Torah portion too is that when Jacob awakens, he says that he names this site Beit El, the city, which means house of God, and that previously the city was called Luz. Fine. But then you have to wonder, if there's a city here, why did Jacob sleep outside amongst the dangers of the wild? Right? Why didn't he get a lodge, stay at the inn, right, along the way? Why didn't he find refuge there? And the answer, at least according to some of the rabbis, is interesting. It's actually the reason Jacob is leaving Canaan at all. It's the same reason Abraham sent Eliezer all the way back to Mesopotamia to bring back Rebekah to marry Isaac. At least according to the rabbis, who they are not a historical voice, they are just a interpretive voice, right? The Canaanites aren't a terribly compassionate people, not generous or charitable, and so this Jacob, who's still young, is alone and in the dark, no food, no direction, and yet, no one offered him assistance. Nobody said, "Hey, there's a place down here you can stay," and people like that wouldn't be worthy of seeking out a spouse. Therefore, like Isaac, his father, Jacob had to acquire a wife from Padan Aram, where although they too were idolaters, right, in this world, they were considered to have a measure of chesed, of kindness and benevolence. Whatever happened to the city, although mentioned in the book of Joshua as a topographical reference, it never grew and it never prospered. It never became a place of renown, because without a sense of humanity, without a sense of compassion, without a sense of responsibility, zeh lezeh, one to one another, its blessings never grew. It never became a place that people wanted to be. Because whenever our hearts are open to others, when we reach out in hospitality, when we make sure that people are taken care of, when we expound energy to make the world a better place, then our lives and our community are also enhanced. And that's a great lesson as well of this Torah portion. Shabbat Shalom. Now I have to find what I did with my service outline. All right, here we go. So we're going to turn back now back forward in our books to page 253. 253. as we turn our thoughts to all of those in our lives and in our community who are in need of healing, of body, of mind, of spirit. And for those of you at home, if you're on Facebook, feel free, beginning now, to put in the chat anybody who's you're thinking about, anybody whose name you're carrying in your heart. And we all hold names in our heart that we carry along with us. We're in the middle of page 253. Mi shebeirach avoteinu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We ask for blessings upon Rebecca Gilman, Hannah Fields Austin, Sue Toback, Paula Steinbach, Rosalind Lefkowitz, Helen Weinfeld, Pam Koliakov, Connie Shapiro, Kathy Blumenfeld, Caitlin Antrim, Kathy Brewster, Jennifer Rudin, Marion Snyders, Kimberly Zimmerman, Brad Holland, Beatrice Caden, Meg Silton, Serena Postal, Bobby Kay, Marilyn Freeman, Robert Strober, Marilyn Lubarsky, Joe Kummerman, Ellery Einstein, Patricia Kramer, Bavini Feldman, James Cecile, Esther Vespris, Joan Morse, Nomi Kravitz, Craig Sachs, Simon Saul, Blair Pollock, Myra White, David Grossman, Ruth Bornstein, Daniel Brewster, Lori Snyder, Jeremy Knoller, Charity Razadeh, Mike Klein, Lily Morrison, Sandra Wager, and Shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Who is sharing announcements today? Jack, come on up.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Temple Beth Israel, I welcome all of you here this evening and those who are joining us online. It is a true pleasure to be back amongst our friends and family here today. I want to thank Rabbi Jonathan Kupetz, music from Dr. Randy Polovoy, and our greeters this evening, Judy Rose, Laura Zimmerman, Jill Housen, Sharon Sachs, Regalato, and Phyllis Black. I'll just make a couple of announcements that are available on the Thursday Temple TBI update that you received via email. Just a couple of things that I would want to highlight here. Tomorrow, Torah study, of course, via Zoom, led by Mikey Ryan. There's the meeting website listed in the update for you, and if you wanted the commentary you can get a hold of Mikey for that information. Sunday, women of TBI will have their monthly meeting, 2:30 p.m. to 4 on Zoom, from Esther to Ruth, Rebel Women. And there's a link on the announcement for additional information. And then the Jewish Book Festival event is also online on Zoom, and there's an event that's taking place this Tuesday, the 16th. Again, Shabbat Shalom, and please refer to the Thursday update or to the website tbipomona.org. Shabbat Shalom.
So I'd just like to add one announcement, because it's also a correction to our TBI update, although I think the regulars all know about it already. But Havdalah tomorrow evening is at 6:45. It still says 7:30 in the update, and it will be updated for next week. But after the time change, we moved to 6:45. So if you join us online for Havdalah, we'd love to have you tomorrow. What time? 6:45. Yes, we'll see you at 6:45. So we're going to turn now to page 282. For Aleinu L'Shabeach, we're going to be in the middle of the page. Please rise if you're able. Randy, give me 1 second because I need to come back to the mics. Aleinu L'Shabeach Ladon HaKol, Latet Gedula Leotzeh Bereshit, Shelo Asanu K'gayeh Haratzot, Velo Samanu K'mishpechot Adama, Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem, Vegor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam, Vanachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad. You may be seated. That was a step. Page 294. We take a moment to remember those who have been important in our lives and have left this earth, those who have died in recent days or at this time in years past. And we hold their memories with us always, but especially at those times of the year when we remember their passing. Remember the recent deaths of Ray Haynes, stepfather of Liz Fields, of Ed Portnoy, father of Andrea Week. Remember the Yortzites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Sally Ambrose, Julian Ambrose, Louis Brownstein, Harold Chester, Mary Coyle, Goldie Friedman, Harry Friedman, Louis Goodman, Jerry Klinghoffer, Rose Mandel Pokris, Morris Caden, Emmanuel Lewis, Bernard Nagby, Alan Aaron, Fanny Eisenberg, Abe Fandel, Merton Gill, Bella Radoff, Philip Siegel, David Kimmel, Ruth Klein, Laura Kruger, Ryan Joel Rowe, Mildred Schulman, Harriet Gull, Bertha Hurwitz, Gary King, Dr. Israel Langsner, Melvin Clyde Wright, Shirley Priegel, Violet Sherman, Morris Sitkoff, Bessie Lichtenstein, Ira Rosenfeld, Claude Stout, Gloria Gogo Wexler, and all those who we hold in our hearts. If you're remembering somebody this Shabbat would like to add a name to those that I've mentioned, please feel free to do so as I come by your row. If you're in a time of mourning or observing a yort site on this Shabbat, I invite you to please rise. And I invite the rest of the congregation, if you're able, to rise in embrace and support of those who mourn. Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Israel, v'agalah v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam ulomei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dukudasha brichu, le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. And we're going to conclude our service. We'll conclude all together with Kiddush and Motzi, but our service itself on page 321 with Beyado. Beyado afkid ruchi, et ishan ve'ayira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira. My soul I give to you. My soul I give to you. My spirit in your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Safely in your hand. Beyado afkid ruchi, et ishan ve'ayira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira, ve'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira. Please join me in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ava uvratzon hinchilanu, Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikrai kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, b'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mikadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. Not a good vintage. I don't know if there's no good vintage of Manischewitz. It just doesn't exist. So it's Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone. For those of you here, there's some challah for you on your way out. For those of you both here and online, with our Hanukkah service on December 3rd, we'll be restarting Oneg, although it will be modified, but we will be getting food again and things like that. So keep that in mind, and we hope that you'll join us. And to those of you online, thank you for being with us as well. Shabbat shalom, everyone.